welcome to the watching portion of Power Up. My name is Maude, Garrett, and I'm joined by Trisha Hirschberger. Every single week we talk about what we're playing, watching, reading, but every other week we ask a guest to do that, and we have an amazing guest on for this particular week. Her name is Mari Takahashi. My God, if I talk too fast. Mari Takahashi, who's been doing a bunch of gaming stuff. She's just got a brand new job on Quibi doing speedrun, and she's going to tell us what she's been watching. Hello, my love.
Hello. Watching.
I'm digging your aesthetic because I've just realized like the blue and pink behind you match your purple hair.
Yeah. It's also the colors that don't have any of that weird like ray tracing thing that happens with cameras sometimes. So it's a happy coincidence.
Oh, that's
sometimes it does this like wave like this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She probably knows.
Yeah.
Something about
like warbling, camera warbling.
Yeah, that word. That specific word.
It happens.
You had the very first watch through of Hamilton. How was it?
Oh, dude, I'm so late to the game, huh? Like I knew about the hype for years, and people are like Hamilton. I'm like, yeah, I'll go watch it sometime, but I haven't watched a musical in a while, and I haven't. So yeah, I'm very late. My Discord and we had a watch party just a few nights ago. It was the first watch through, and I got to watch it again. But upon first watch through, mind absolutely blown. I love that it is historically accurate. One of the songs is about, who will tell your story, like how will you be remembered? And it's so poignant in the fact that like, at the end of it, we're talking about Eliza, who is Hamilton's wife, who I had never, and I and probably a lot of people have never even heard of before. Everybody knows Alexander Hamilton, everybody knows the $10 bill, but how many of us really know Eliza? And so it's one of these things where I'm grateful that these stories are being talked about, written about, made musicals about. And I think it's just continues to say like it's important that we highlight stories that need to be heard and continue to do that with whatever platforms or mediums that we do have. Keep the conversation going.
I wasn't even like so psyched for the content of like, oh my God, tell me about Alexander Hamilton. I haven't slept because I don't know. For me, it was how they told the story. And Lin-Manuel Miranda has just proven that content that, like a history that may be super boring reading about, it's the way you tell the story that can be entertaining and captivating. And like previously, I'm like, it's not really my history. I don't really know anything about this Hamilton dude. But then when I was watching it, I was like, I am yearning to learn about this story because of like just he's a word wizard, like it was just so fun in that regard. And I'm like, man, this is also a little bit like a soap opera. There's a lot of affairs happening. He can't keep it in his pants. He seems like an alcoholic. I was like, okay, shit's going down. And ships are.
It's true. And I have to say, Maude, if you're feeling like that, if you're like, it's not really my history, but when it's told in a really exciting way, I have to recommend, and this is such like a deep cut, but did anyone ever watch the John Adams HBO miniseries starring Paul Giamatti?
No.
It is so good, and that's exactly how I felt about it. That's why it made me think about it, Maude, because I was like, this isn't a part of history I've ever been like, please tell me more. But it's Paul Giamatti and Laura Linney, and they are so good. It's so good that I was like, now I like that part of history because of that. So highly recommend. But yes, Lin-Manuel Miranda is just amazing. And it's interesting, a lot of the conversation that Hamilton has brought up online, given the BLM movement and stuff, because there's a lot of people who are like, think that Hamilton is problematic, where it wasn't when it first came out on Broadway, because we were under the Obama administration and feelings were a little different, but under the current feelings and everything that's going on with BLM, that maybe, telling and kind of glorifying the white founders who had slaves and not telling the slave story in that storytelling is slightly problematic. And I think it's given rise to a lot of really wonderful conversation that Lin-Manuel Miranda has been a huge part of. He's been, really involved in helping lead that conversation and say, let's talk about how it could be told differently and that kind of thing. So that's all been fascinating just around it as well.
100%.
Who are your standout actors and performers in it, Mari?
Definitely Eliza and all of her songs. I can't. I had to ask my chat. I'm like, is it terrible that I love the King? Like, he's so funny.
Well, Jonathan Groff is
so
amazing.
well.
So you just have to understand Jonathan Groff is amazing, and then Jonathan Groff in Hamilton is extra amazing.
Yeah. I think that, you know, it's one of those characters where it's easy to say, like, you're supposed to make fun of this character, and he knows it. And, you know, it's all the things that has been romanticized about the English king, you know, he comes out with and exudes in that. Gosh, so I mean, so many characters. I forget the person who plays him, but the Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson character too.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Jefferson, who is my absolute crush. He wrote and starred in a film with his white best friend, because, you know, he is an actual rapper and he writes a lot of that kind of music. And it's a movie called Blind Spotting, and it's talking about what it's like to be and grow up in a black community in LA, but also with having a white friend. So the white friend grew up with a black best friend and kind of adopted a lot of these traits, but as adults, they really had to reflect, this is sort of like my background and my community, and it's like you're sort of adopting this, but you're not black. And that was just like such a powerful movie. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's such a great watch. Blind Spotting. And what's her name? Janina is in it. 2 seconds.
Is Janina in
it?
Yeah.
She's in it. She's really great too. But with Jonathan Groff, like seeing him as the King George, because obviously he's massive in Broadway. He's done a lot of that stuff. But realizing that he's in Frozen. What's his name?
Oh yeah, he's Kristoff in both Frozen and Frozen 2, and he has an even bigger role in Frozen 2. I saw a tweet from someone that was like, Jonathan Groff is living his best Disney Plus life right now. I was like, oh, 100% yes.
My favorite show is being oh my gosh, he's going to be in The Matrix 4. I just got a Maude boner. My favorite thing that I've seen him in is Mindhunter, which is my favorite show of last year. And he's so different in that. And I'm pretty sure he's gay in real life, if I'm not mistaken.
Don't know.
Really?
Maybe.
I'll find out in 3 seconds.
Look it up. He was also played Lea Michele's boyfriend in Glee for a while, which I didn't make that connection until very recently. Someone pointed that out to me, and I'm like, oh, that was him, huh?
I'm such a Hamilton noob. I feel like I'm learning so much.
Yeah. He publicly came out in 2009. Yeah. Very known that he's gay. Yep. So it was really interesting seeing him play very much a straight man in Mindhunter. Mm-hmm. And the girl who played his girlfriend in season 1 was infuriating. But then I like went deep into Reddit because she was so bland and boring, and it sounded like she just, you know, when you do an audition and you have someone read the line so that you can do the audition, that's how she was acting, and it bothered me so much. Then I went to this Reddit forum because Mindhunter is all about reading into people's psyches. She was so attractive because she was so monotonal and so unexpressive that he couldn't ever read her, and that was exciting. And then I was
interesting.
Able to yeah.
That's cool. That's a cool thing.
I just thought she was a bad actress, and then she was wrecking a really good show for me. So I got to the bottom of that.
Nope. All right, Mari. So there's a couple other things in this picture here that you told us you were currently watching. Let us know what else is going on your TV.
Oh yeah, Samurai Champloo. Second watch through. Yeah, second watch through. This time with the hubby, and it's as good as I remember. It's one of my favorite animes and one of my favorite intros to animes as well. It's got like a real cool like mashup of hip hop and samurai, like Edo era. I think it's Edo era. Yeah, it's Edo era in Japan. And yeah, it's historical fiction, but more leaning heavily on the fiction portion of it. It's stylized, and yeah, it's a good one. It's a good samurai anime if you're looking for one. There's so many out there, but it's one.
On the left legit kind of looks like Brock from the Pokemon animated series all grown up.
Hilarious. Yeah, that's Mugen. He comes from more of I would think like something that is equivalent to, you know, coming from like one of the islands like Hiroshima, and he's a little bit different. He's got a different vibe than everybody. He's got different morals. He's kind of like a wild guy, and the guy on the far right is more of, you know, he sticks with like the Bushido sort of constraints, and he has a certain way of looking at the world, and they're total opposites. But like the glue that keeps them together is the girl in the middle. And for, you know, there's no reason why they want to help her out, but she has a way of bringing the two together in order to help her seek out a certain person in the world.
Okay.
I love that. I have not seen that at all. Have you, Maude?
No.
So-
I watched a lot of anime when I was in high school, and then I kind of dipped out, and I have been meaning the last few years to get back into it in a big way. And I watched one last year, and I loved the first sort of 5 episodes. What was it called? I got recommended it. It's where they got stuck inside the MMORPG. They got stuck inside the video game.
Sword Art Online.
Yes. And then like halfway through that season, I'm like, what? Where's this? What's happening? They got a kid, they're teenagers, and now they got a kid. And I was like, this is weird. And I kind of bowed out.
Sword Art goes through a little dip and a dive. It starts out really strong. I think it ends strong. Season 2 is terrible. Alicization is better. There's a lot of iterations of it. Yeah, Sword Art's got a it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But for someone who's never watched, it's how do you say it? Samurai Champloo?
Yeah.
Okay. For someone who's never seen that, what would be like your 1 or 2 sentence pitch, Mari?
Let's see. I would say stylized samurai, like buddy comedy, but also something that goes into more like darker territory, more violent, that has a hip hop twist to it, which makes it very, very unique.
That is very cool. Love it.
Yeah.
All right, and you also are watching Disclosure.
Oh yeah. So I stumbled upon Disclosure on Netflix, and I had no idea what it was about. And from the title, I couldn't understand what it was, but I was like, Disclosure sounds fun. I'll play it. It's so good. It has an interview with, I want to say maybe like 10 to 15 trans folk, and they're talking about how media, as we've seen it, and the portrayal of trans people in media has, if anything, not warped our reaction to trans people, but I would say it has shaped how we both look at, react, speak to, and speak about trans men and women. And it's going back in time to, you know, like olden days, and how it was, how they were portrayed, to more recent ones, and movies that we grew up on, like Ace Ventura. And, you know, like from what I remember of Ace Ventura, it was a really funny movie, and a castmate of mine from Survivor is on that, Zeke, who is transgender, and he's talking about how, you know, one day he was feeling down, so he wanted to watch this movie that always uplifted him as a kid. And so often the punchline or the joke of something is finding out that somebody is transgender in a TV or a film, and then people vomiting. And that has always been like a comedic sort of thing, seen so many times in films. You know, it's one of these things where it's like, it was such a trope that to somebody like myself who has to, you know, check her privilege of not being in that position and not understanding how hurtful that is it's a trope that needs to be talked about and understood better and fixed in television. Another trope that has been seen in media is transgender people being killed and, you know, like murdered brutally, brutal violence like happening upon them, and that being another thing where it's just like over and over, it's been on different TV and movie
A lot of the time,
trails.
the reason behind it, it's like the reason why they got beat up is because they deserved it, and that's usually like the plot device. Yeah.
Or a lot of times the plot device, and I know they talk about this in Disclosure. I watched this too. Highly recommend. I'm with you, Mari. Another one that they use too is the idea that the trans person was somehow tricking people.
Right.
And so that's, it kind of gives this fear-mongering culture that you could be bamboozled, or the person's intentionally trying to trick you. And it's true, given the privilege that you may have as someone who is not trans, never having to think about that, you would understand 100% how that would be so hurtful to then have your experiences and your relationships in real life impacted by what media has kind of told people to believe about trans. But yeah, I think this is another really good one, along with 13th. And like, if you're trying actively to educate yourself right now and look into the various issues and just expand your horizons, highly recommend Disclosure. Good call, Mari.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Really good.
That wraps the watching portion at the moment, but we do have Bombs Away Q&A where Amy's going to come in. She's going to drop some questions for Mari and
questions.
Welcome back, Amy.
Hi, thank you. So this one is from Geek Bomb's Patreon, patreon.com/geekbomb. I will also be getting one from Twitch right now. This one's from Steven Summers. If you were in a Hamilton-like duel, who would you choose as your second?
As my second, as in who I'm dueling?
I read it as like someone that would be on your side.
Yeah, they're on your side, and they would try and shoot that person for you. Someone who you try to like get into shit with.
Oh my gosh, I don't want them to shoot anyone. Those duels are so scary. I can't believe that was just like a regular way of settling disputes. Can you imagine?
That's the Wild Wild West as well, though. Someone just challenges you, you walk 10 steps, turn around, pachong. Like, yeah. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It doesn't make sense at all. And it's basically toxic masculinity at its finest. It's been ingrained in culture. But in saying that, if Trisha turned around and tapped me on the shoulder and she's like, all right, we're going to go kill someone, I wouldn't have questions. I'd be like, all right.
Here we go.
All right.
So I Trisha's second.
Well, and especially because, if like, I try to be peaceful at all times. So, if I'm like, hey, we got to kill this guy, that we really got to kill whoever it is.
Oh, yeah. They are not a good person. And the better thing to do would be to remove them from the planet. Yeah, done.
Oh, man. I feel like I'd pick, like, The Rock, because I feel like he would be able to, like, figure out the situation. I feel like he'd just be like, okay, let's figure this out. This is the Rock impression in history. But he'd be like, listen here, let's sit down and let's have a one-on-one talk. I don't know what that's going to work, but
the second plays the role. Thank you, Dante, for reminding us. The second is your witness/negotiator. So the seconds go in and they talk it out to see if they can stop it from happening. So maybe in that instant, I could talk it out.
Yeah. I feel like they would listen to The Rock.
Oh, for sure.
I'm going to go.
Like, we can talk or we can fight. And they'd be like, you know what? Words are great.
Can it be someone who's no longer with us?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
I'm going Mr. Rogers.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mr. Rogers can calm anybody down and make them see reason. It's pretty hard to stay mad when you're talking to Mr. Rogers. So I'm going with that.
Amy would be pretty good. She's 4'11", so when they turn around and shoot, it would go over their head for sure.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's all right, Amy. I feel you on that.
That is an asset. I am dead instantly. They'll try to shoot me in the head and they'll get my heart. Like, that's a double whammy.
There are so many perks to being short, I have to say. Trish, we get it.
You're better at dodgeball. I mean, that's the big one that I always
Weaving through crowds. The list is infinite. So this next question is from El Efron on Twitch right now. What was your favorite anime from childhood, Mari?
My favorite from childhood? Rurouni Kenshin definitely, was something that stayed with me. I remember going, on a trip to Japan and looking for a single of the intro music and, going all over Tokyo trying to find this one CD, and I found it, and it was like a mini CD of the title sequence. I think it was called Sobakasu, and it was so hard to find. I grew up on like Dragon Ball, but I don't remember anything. Like I was watching it on VHS in Japanese that my aunt would send me. So like it's kind of like asking someone like sorry?
Hell Saga, Boo Saga. That's what I grew up watching. Dragon Ball G was the absolute jam. I loved it. Cell Saga.
Yeah.
Tried so hard.
Gosh. I remember the way where, you know, somebody was like, oh, try to remember, I don't know, like an episode of Sesame Street. It's like, I don't know. There were like characters around. It's kind of like that. Because I was watching Dragon Ball when I was like 6 to 8 years old, probably on VHS.
Oh, okay, I was like 14 to 16.
Yeah, which is why I don't really remember stuff. I just remember like characters and stuff like that. Yeah, but it's normal. It's pretty normal, like Japanese, like kids TV that you would watch.
What?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Like they bleed. They often.
yeah, I guess they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I also have a brother who's much older than I am, so you know whether those were intended for my brother or not, I would watch. I would watch the VHS tapes because I'm 107 years old. Apparently.
Yes! No, seriously, I think that's awesome. I never watched anime as a kid because I didn't have access to it. It, like, wasn't a thing because I'm getting up there in years, and the internet in a household wasn't really a thing until I was in high school. So being able to, like, find anime via the internet, I don't even know how you would find it before that or how I would have found it before that. So the closest thing I had was whatever was on TV, which, like, my sister watched Sailor Moon sometimes.
Yeah. I had that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've got to thank the programmers for a morning TV show called Cheese TV, where, you know, there'd be, like, links between the shows with two hosts, and I ended up being one of those on Nickelodeon, which is why Avatar is one of the best shows of all time. But, yeah, they programmed Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, like all of those, but there was all English dubbed, of course, and I didn't even, you know, didn't really compute that there was any other sort of version of them. But like every single morning I would do that because my parents are full-time workers. They would leave at 7 a.m. and I would, you know, sleep in and then ride myself to school. And for an hour and a half, I would watch cartoons every morning beforehand.
Awesome. Oh man, the good old days, right? All right, well, Maude, thank you so much for sharing with us what you've been watching. Those are great recommendations. Folks in chat or in the comments, if you are watching this later, let us know what you've been watching as well. And if you had a chance to view any of the stuff that Mari recommended. And stick around because in just a moment, we will be coming back with more Mari so that Mari can tell us all about what she has been reading. Stay tuned.